They called her a queen, but history remembers her as a mystery, beautiful, ambitious, dangerous, and yet, no one truly knows what happened when Eleanor of Aquitaine marched eastward, across deserts, through enemy lands, into the heart of a war-torn world where kings died for glory and queens disappeared from the records. This is not the story you read in royal chronicles. It's the story that was buried intentionally because it threatened to unravel more than just a kingdom. It threatened to expose the truth behind one of the most powerful women of the medieval world, and the forbidden journey she was never meant to survive. Let us begin in France in the year 1147. The flames of the Second Crusade had been lit. The city of Edessa had fallen to Muslim forces, and Pope Eugene III called upon Christendom to rise once more. But unlike the First Crusade, which had been led by warriors and commoners alike, this crusade would be different. This time, a queen would ride. Eleanor of Aquitaine was no ordinary woman. She was young, barely in her 20s, but already one of the wealthiest and most politically influential figures in Europe. She ruled Aquitaine, a vast and fiercely independent duchy. She had married King Louis VII of France not just for love, if there was ever love, but for power. When Louis took the cross to join the crusade, Eleanor demanded to accompany him. Not as a spectator, not as a wife, but as a leader. She brought with her hundreds of knights, all loyal to Aquitaine. Some called them her personal guard. Others whispered darker things. Accusations of vanity, of lust, of arrogance. They called her behavior unholy, unfeminine, dangerous, because Eleanor dressed in armor. She led from the front, and she refused to stay in the shadows of the church or the throne. But the journey east was not paved with glory. From the beginning, the campaign was cursed. The French army, slowed by logistics, sabotaged by allies, and confused by conflicting maps, suffered in the harsh terrain of Anatolia. Ambushed by Turkish forces, starved of supplies, morale began to collapse, and in the midst of this chaos, rumors began to spread that Eleanor and her ladies dressed like Amazons, mythical warrior women, that she consulted strange mystics, that her tent was the center of scandal and seduction. But the worst rumor was that she was involved in treason. Some said she met secretly with Raymond of Poitiers, her uncle, the ruler of Antioch. They were seen whispering together, too close, too often. Raymond was a charming man, a seasoned warrior, and unlike her husband Louis, who was pious and withdrawn, Raymond was bold and possibly reckless. He wanted the Crusaders to attack Aleppo, the strategic key to the region. Louis refused, and Eleanor stood with Raymond. That moment shattered everything. Louis saw it as a betrayal both politically and personally. There were whispers that Eleanor was planning to abandon Louis, to stay in Antioch with her uncle and raise her own banners. Others claimed their relationship was more than familial. No one knows for certain, because the records become vague. What we do know is that Louis forced Eleanor to leave Antioch. Some say he had her removed by force. Others say she was dragged from the city under guard. But what came next was worse. The crusade turned toward Jerusalem, but Louis and Eleanor no longer rode as king and queen. They rode as enemies. They arrived in Jerusalem to a city rotting from within. Crusader politics were a mess. The locals hated their foreign kings. Alliances were shifting, and the goal of the crusade, retaking Edessa, had been quietly abandoned. Instead, a decision was made to attack Damascus, a wealthy, well-defended city that had once been an uneasy ally. The attack failed catastrophically, and the crusade collapsed. But Eleanor remained. No one knows exactly where she went during the final weeks of the crusade. Some say she traveled to Jerusalem on her own pilgrimage. Others claim she went deeper east, seeking out ancient knowledge, lost relics, or even secret negotiations. A Byzantine source mentions a Frankish queen who visited an unnamed Eastern court with gifts and books, an entry that has never been officially connected to Eleanor, but that matches her timing and profile. And there are darker theories, that Eleanor had made contact with heretics, that she had sought out the Ismailis, the assassins, that she had learned secrets about the war the church wanted buried. When she finally returned to France with Louis, the marriage was broken. Within 2 years, she had the union annulled, claiming they were too closely related. The real reason: Louis had lost all power, and Eleanor had gained something else. She left Paris and married Henry Plantagenet, soon to become King of England. With that marriage, Eleanor became the Queen of England, mother of Richard the Lionheart and King John. Her bloodline would shape the future of Europe. Her decisions would ignite wars. Her letters would influence papal decrees. Her network of nobles and knights would shake the continent for decades. But the one period she never spoke of again was her journey east. The church also remained silent. No official rebuke, no trial, no inquisition, as if it had all been buried. Why? Because perhaps what Eleanor learned in the East was not meant for Western ears. Perhaps she had discovered that the war itself was built on lies, that the enemy was not the infidel, but the system behind the cross. Or perhaps she simply saw too much. A woman like Eleanor, educated, powerful, unafraid, was already a threat. A woman who returned from the East with secrets? She had to be erased. Not killed, no, but silenced. Softly, carefully, elegantly. History gave her a crown, but it took her journey. So today we ask, what happened to Eleanor of Aquitaine in the East? What did she see or hear or do that made every chronicler suddenly fall silent? Was it love, treason, sorcery, a secret deal with an enemy king? Or was it something even more dangerous? Knowledge. Because in the age of Crusades, swords could win battles, but information could shake empires. And Eleanor, for a brief and forbidden moment, stood at the center of it all.